Hello and welcome to the debut episode of DayOne, a podcast by and for Cape Town to help us better understand and guide the ways water flows in our city. My name is Fran-Rico and I'm your host. You were just listening to water in Khayelitsha Wetlands Park as it splashed against the pedal. DayOne's field team were at the park on February the 2nd, joining festivities in celebration of World Wetlands Day when a member of the Khayelitsha Canoe Club invited DayOne for a canoe ride on the wetland. This wetland is not just providing beauty and recreation for the community and habitat for animals and plants, it's actually helping to strengthen our city's economy, ecology, and health by providing resilience against drought. Wetlands act like natural sponges to absorb rainfall and can be monitored to give us early warnings of droughts that are coming. Wetlands also absorb carbon emissions and by doing so, reduce the impact of climate change that can cause drought. When we're planning and designing our neighborhoods to withstand drought now and in the future, we can be sure that protecting, restoring and maintaining wetlands is key. The idea of this podcast emerged from a conversation about how to communicate more widely and inclusively about the current water situation in Cape Town. The name of this podcast was born from a slip of the tongue. One of us said DayOne accidentally instead of Day Zero, and then we asked, hey, what about DayOne? We have chosen DayOne as the name because we want to begin to mobilize our imaginations towards a more socially and ecologically just way of being with water in the city, and in this way, fostering hope through exploring alternatives. This podcast is compiled by Sarah van Borek and Anna James, two environmental education researchers from the Environmental Learning Research Center at Rhodes University. Sarah and Anna are building this podcast series based on the questions that arise in their daily Cape Town lives. The aim is to further discussions and brainstorm creative action around water in Cape Town. You can read more about the DayOne podcast, listen to podcast episodes, and send in your questions and suggestions at www.dayonewater.wordpress.com. In today's show, we will give you some background on what Day Zero is all about, learn about the newly formed Cape Town Water Crisis Coalition, chat with two members of the Western Cape Water Caucus, talk with Design Studio H about the potential role of seawater in our agricultural future, and speak to two musicians about a song called For Love of Water. Let's get started. Day Zero is the day when the city will shut off the water flowing to taps across the city of Cape Town. The date is determined by the dam levels and the amount of water Cape Townians use daily. Water management has decided that when the dams reach 13.5%, they will turn off the supply to the majority of the taps around the city. The majority of Cape Town citizens will have to collect 25 litres of water per person per day from collection points. According to the city officials, the exceptions will be hospitals, clinics, key businesses and industries to enable the economy to continue to operate, as well as informal settlements. A movement known as the Cape Town Water Crisis Coalition was recently formed in Cape Town to build solidarity and support for citizen-driven solutions to the city's water situation. On Sunday, January 28th, the coalition held their first public march outside Cape Town's Civic Centre. The event included a number of speakers coming from a wide range of areas across Metro Cape Town. DayOne was there to document these perspectives. Chanel Candice from the coalition provided some background about the coalition.
We had a formation on the 15th of January. We are now over 70 organizations affiliated to the coalition. We are apolitical and we are connected because we are connected for the lives of our people. We are connected for the life of our water, which is precious from the Creator. And it is a right for all. We've created safe spaces in our meetings for our communities to come and to speak. Because we know about the water management devices, the literacy, the service delivery backlogs, the unjust penalties, the repression, the tariffs, the privatization of our water. We want to hear your story. We want you to tell your story, regardless of your gender, your sexuality, your race, your class, whatever.
Various community members commented on the diversity of people attending the march and how this reflected those impacted by the water crisis.
Friends, comrades, this is an amazing moment in the city where people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, farmers, union people, ordinary housewives, the elderly, all of us are coming together with a single concern, that we are worried about our water.
Yes.
Now we are saying that the water is life, and water must be shared equally with everybody.
This is an issue for South Africa. It's not an issue for black, white or colored. It's an issue for all races.
All of us have a responsibility, urban and rural. It doesn't matter the class, if day zero come, it will affect all of us. None of us will be excluded from the spending crisis.
Karen van Zyl, founder of Reclaim Kamisa, also spoke at the march. Kamisa means the place of sweet waters in Khoisan. The idea behind Reclaim Kamisa is to give Cape Town back its water heritage and integrate city life with the natural system, a concept Karen calls civic hydrology. Reclaim Kamisa's goal is that by 2020, Cape Town can take back the title Place of Sweet Waters, and a scheme will be in place that recognizes the need for city planning and design that puts water back at the center of life. At the march, Karen provided some essential legal information about our rights to access water and to healthy water environments.
South Africa is one of 20 signatories to a declaration recognizing water as a human right. In our Constitution's Bill of Rights, section 27(1)b, it states that everyone has the right to have access to sufficient food and water, and that water is a common that should be shared in an equitable manner. The National Water Act states that all water is vested in the state, as this water is our common property. The National Water Act stipulates that an ecological reserve must remain in watercourses in order that rivers need to be able to support their natural processes.
Speakers at the coalition march also shared their experiences of water in their communities, highlighting the current inequalities around access to water.
Comrade, we know that in the poor areas, day zero have reached informal settlements 20 years ago, comrades. Backyarders in our area, comrades, day zero have reached them 20 years ago, comrades.
Find so many people, they won't even have money to buy water if a water meter is installed, because already people struggle to buy a 10 rand of electricity.
There's a great inequality in our country. We claim to have the best constitution in the world, but there is only pockets of South Africans who are privileged and our freedom. Are we really free? How free are we?
One community voice at the march was Wendy from Elsenburg outside Stellenbosch.
The day before the school opened, around 4 o'clock, when we opened the taps, we had no water, no communication, no notification. 6 o'clock on the morning of the school reopening, I heard a truck coming with a tank, and I run to fetch water because the children must bath. We need to drink water. We need water for the food. And our water was off for 4 days. We had no water. And as mothers, as communities, we've got pensioners, we've got very old people in our community. People that are alone, they can't walk to a truck to fetch water.
Based on Wendy's experience, it seems Day Zero has already been happening for her community. How are people responding to the City of Cape Town's alert of Day Zero? Here to unpack this important question are members of the Western Cape Water Caucus.
I'm James from the Western Cape Water Caucus. The officials, they are not coming to the people on the lower ground to educate them about the Day Zero. They are addressing in a way that we must have a fear.
As you may have picked up, the date of Day Zero tends to fluctuate. It changes because we cannot make exact predictions of how Cape Townians will change their water usage, nor how the dam levels will be affected by the local weather.
My name is Mpumi Mhlalisi. I'm from the Western Cape Water Caucus. People in my area have been very scared ever since when they hear the news that there will be a Day Zero, and they imagine this day whereby they will be running out of water, won't be able to cook, and the sick won't be able to take their medication. Babies, they need water for drinking and also for bathing. A sick person who's staying alone or an old person who's staying alone won't be able to make means to get water on the Day Zero. Those will be the victims of the Day Zero. And also the poorest of the poor who can't be able to get the spring water that is being supplied there because there's a big distance. People won't be able to afford transport to go there.
As of the 1st of February, level 6B water restrictions are in place, meaning each person should be using no more than 50 liters of water per day.
And then there will be a frustration and worries because people, they will be looking to the tank that is there and then thinking that when is my turn? What if I don't get water? And then what about the time that I have spent? They are not even educated about how to store their water. Some of the people just will use the things or the buckets that are not safe for them, and is going to be something that the people, they will get sick.
Where do we actually get our water from? There are 6 major dams serving the city, but one of these dams is vastly bigger than the rest, and so most of our eggs are in one basket, the Tier Waterskloof Dam. It has the capacity to hold 480 billion liters of water. The next biggest one is a quarter of that size.
There are the guys that are employed by the local municipalities. And then when you ask them, okay, what is your job? And then they are saying that, okay, our job is to fix leaks. But each and every day, if you walk around, especially in poor communities, there is leaks everywhere. There is water that is running. And then now the question is what they are doing in order to say that they are also concerned about this Day Zero.
10 million liters of sewage water per day is processed before it's sent out into the ocean. This is a linear model of the city water, rather than a circular recycling of water back into the system.
There seems to be a contradiction between the national government and the local government as well as the province. This thing is being used as a political football.
Who is in charge of what? Broadly, the role of national government is bulk water supply. The role of local government is to clean that water and to deliver it to households. The role of the province is to coordinate disasters.
The companies that are putting together bottled water, I think they are happy on their side because this thing is playing in their hands and they will score big monies for these tactics of saying there's day zero, and this day zero will be on such and such a date. And those who can afford are buying more water.
Climate change models predict that Cape Town will experience more dry years in the future.
Everything now that is made on the 11th hour, rushing. And the desalination plants and everything.
Cape Town's average rainfall within the 2,000 square kilometers area covered by the municipality is 3 to 4 times as high as our annual demand. Currently, we could get by with the water that lands on the city, but the problem is that we don't capture it all.
I'm afraid that this would be an opportunity for businesses like the engineering firms involved in the desalination plants to inflate their fees and prices to make sure that they score big time during the crisis. Because during the crisis, people don't think properly. There have been other organizations that have emerged to be concerned about the water issues.
And the Western Cape Water Caucus is precisely one of those organizations. In times of crisis, it's understandable that one's focus can be on getting through the day. But this is also an important time to consider alternative approaches to water sourcing, treatment and consumption in ways that can be more equitable and sustainable in the long term. Cape Town's culinary-minded Studio H is thinking outside the desalination box. They are working on solutions to shift the world away from using 69% of its fresh water on agriculture by exploring the potential role of seawater in our agricultural future.
Hello, Hannah. Thank you for having us at Studio H this morning and agreeing to join us on DayOne podcast. You're speaking with Anna James. Can we start by hearing a little bit about Studio H and what you do and why you do it?
So we mainly focus on food and food-related issues. So we design everything through the lens of food. We work with chefs and scientists, and we kind of layer experiences with interactive elements so that people remember it for longer. We do a lot of our own projects, like, for example, the Cape Town and Joburg street food festivals. And then we were invited by Maria Vogelsang to enter a project for the food embassy that she curated last year for Dutch Design Week. We submitted a few projects, and the water crisis already then was quite serious. It was mid-2017, and we then decided to go with the water project called Zout. We started collaborating with researchers in the Netherlands. We found this amazing research farm in Texel, which is an island just north of the Netherlands. And they've been doing research on growing crops in seawater for many years, I think for 10 years now. And they've been extremely successful. So certain crops like potatoes, cabbage, lettuce, tomatoes, strawberries and carrots grow really well in seawater or when irrigated with seawater. Some of them, like I think strawberries, for example, need to be irrigated with a mixture of seawater and fresh water, but still, it's definitely been done and they're doing it. And I also know that they've had very good success in countries where the soil is very brackish. So in Pakistan, they've converted a lot of farming practices to potato farming very successfully.
Does the food taste different?
It doesn't.
It a bit more salty?
Some of them is actually a little bit sweeter because the plant compensates for the high salt levels in the water, so it retains its natural sugars.
In January, you had some what you called waterless dinners.
Yeah, so
could you tell us a bit about those?
So we did that specifically to start a conversation. We designed an experience that would get people talking and thinking about water and the way that they use water. So we looked at the crops that could survive when irrigated by seawater and then used that as the base for the menu. And then for the proteins, we looked at animals that don't use a lot of water. So we found a camel farm in Uppington. So we used the camel milk for the dessert. So we made ice cream out of the camel milk. And then we also used ostrich meat and ostrich eggs. It's so indigenous, and I don't think it's something that South Africans eat enough of. Ostriches do not even have to drink water. So if they come across water in their natural habitat, they will consume it, but they don't have to drink water.
I love that you said these waterless dinners are to start a conversation. Did anything come out of significance to the situation in Cape Town today?
I hope that it's made people more aware of just thinking about their personal food, water footprints. So just always think about what you're consuming and how much water it took to get that on your plate. It's also how much water you use when you cook. For me personally, my relationship with water has changed completely, and I don't think it will ever go back to the way that it was.
Building on the topic of innovation, we go now to the artists in our city to see what impact they can have with regards to sustainable water. When we start to unpack the factors contributing to the water crisis, we begin to see that challenges and strategies related to water have been going on in Cape Town for a while. Nearly a decade ago, in recognition of World Water Day 2010 and National Water Week, a local organization called For Love of Water, or FLOW, founded by Justin Friedman, gathered a group of renowned writers, composers, producers, and artists together to create an original anthemic piece of music called For Love of Water. In order to raise awareness and inspire action on water issues, the song was recorded with an impressive lineup of South African and international artists. On today's podcast, we are excited to have the opportunity to learn from two of these artists, Cape Town-based singer, songwriter, producer, and composer Mapumba Chilombo, and Cape Town-based producer, composer Daniel Apple, to speak about their experiences in the making of the song. So right here today, we are sitting with Mr. Dad Apple and also the one and only Mapumba. How are you guys doing?
Good.
No, fantastic, man. First of all, I just want to hear about the people behind For the Love of Water. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
My musical background is I'm first and foremost a guitarist, a pianist, singer, songwriter. Later got into music production, music composition for TV and ads and documentaries and film. Also producing artists as well. And creating my own music in the studio. DJ on the side. My DJ name is DJ Applesauce.
Nice.
And I play in the band Congo Electro with this man sitting opposite me here. And a dancer.
I love the fact that For the Love of Water, you put it all together, abbreviated, it says FLOW. So who thought of that?
I think that came from Justin, right? Yeah, so Justin's the guy that kind of headed up this whole project, Justin Friedman. And he's the guy that's kind of had this vision around the song, putting the musicians together, contacting musicians from all over the world to be part of this.
So this goes to both of you. I think you guys can order accordingly. What role do you guys feel as musicians you guys can play in creating solutions for the water crisis?
It's hard to write a song about water and have it create change, but it's possible. And maybe at the very least, it can impact on a few lives. Maybe at the very best, it can impact on a lot of lives, depending on the popularity of the song and how it gets out there and how far it goes. I mean, I guess to sum that up, to spread awareness of the issues, to share solutions, and to get people on board with being water-wise.
No, fantastic, man. How do you guys feel about the current situation and also with the media regards to that?
Even if we had enough water in the dam, there's still an overall problem, a long-term problem of climate change, a problem of the drought. And I mean, I think there's a serious silver lining with this crisis, which is it's forcing everyone to be aware of what's going on. You know, it's forcing people to change how they relate to water and how they use water. All the discussions and conversations on radio and with friends are serious, and they should be, but there's a tone of anxiety behind all of them. But if we can kind of turn that on its head and say, look, obviously this is still an issue. We still need to figure X, Y, and Z out, and how do you do that and this and that. But at the same time, like, let's do it from a place of calm and a place of looking forward to the change that will come through this, even if we are forced to change.
And when you think about day zero and you think about day one, you know, I think day one is just like another word for me for alternative methods, that we haven't been focusing on the right things, or maybe there's another way we can look at this. But I want to thank you guys for coming through and having a chat with us as well. Is there any place where we can get more of your music?
I think the best way to find about me is Edible Audio, which is my studio, which is edibleaudio.co.za.
To want to let everybody hear this magical song that was created in 2010. It's for the love of water. So yeah, enjoy the music. You're still with us on Day One show with Fran-Rico.
Thank you.
Take the space between us. You are not a stranger. I am made of water, so are you.
Man is not a soldier. He is more than just a thing to cut and climb and hit. Chosen. This is our story. We are all the chosen. Yes, we are for love of water. We are on a road. Remember all we see. Alles wat wij denken, wat wij doen en laten. Alles wat wij zijn nergens zonder water.
no space between us. You are not a stranger. I am made of water, so are you.
Million years have come and gone. Many faces turn to one. Water gives us life, and life gives love, and love is all we are. We are all the chosen. This is our story. We are all the chosen. Yes, we are for love of water.
The song you just heard was For Love of Water, featuring a group of South African and international artists and produced by the local organization by the same name, otherwise known as Flow. For more information about the song or the organization, check out www.flow.org.za. As we wrap up DayOne's first episode and begin this journey of unpacking the water crisis towards innovative solutions together, we finish with questions from one community speaker at the Cape Town Water Crisis Coalition's protest on January 28th.
How did we get to this point? What happened? Where is the community that stands up for human rights? For the issues that is close to our hearts, let us stand together.
You can read more about the DayOne podcast, listen to podcast episodes, and send in your questions and suggestions at www.dayonewater.wordpress.com.